All right, so today's message is called You Can't Escape God. Um, so a little backstory on why I named the title this. On Monday, it was my birthday, so um, um, and on Monday, Jocelyn and I went out, and we went to an escape room. It wasn't our first escape room that we've been to, but this time, this escape room was, how to explain it, a little bit more complicated, right? And it wasn't like the experience of the first escape room that we went to. Um, the first escape room we went to, we got a lot more hints than the one that we went to on Monday. The one that we went to on Monday only allowed you 4 clues. And after that, there was no more hints to, the mission to complete. We got very far with just the 4 hints that they gave us, but as the time started to narrow down, because in the beginning part, we weren't able to figure out the pieces to the puzzles really, so we had to, basically use up all our clues basically in the first half. And what happens is time starts to narrow down. You only get an hour to complete it, or else that's the end of the mission, right? And, as time starts to narrow down, what do you start to do? You start to panic a little bit because you want to complete the mission, right? And, as time ran down, I kind of gave up a little bit because I felt like we weren't going to complete anything, which we didn't. But what happens is, I want to get to the spiritual part now. What I started to realize is, because at first I didn't know what to talk about this week. I was thinking about it all last week to figure out what I was going to talk about. And, Jocelyn had asked me this question that she said, you don't like losing, do you? And I didn't know how to respond to that, so I kind of just ignored it, really. I wasn't trying to be mean, but I was just like, I don't know. And what I realized is that I don't. Nobody does, right? And, then I started to ponder on the whole situation, and then I was like, this is what I'm a preacher about. People don't like to lose. People don't like people to control their life, right? And it's just like that in the spiritual aspect now. People don't like God to control their lives. What they like is to control their lives and hope that God is going to bless their lives as they're controlling it themselves. And as the escape room, they give you hints, right? And God gives you hints too. And when God gives you hints, you would think to, catch on to what he's trying to give you, right? But instead, what do? We overlook it. We bypass the clue and go on with our own thinking. And the sad part about it is that people such as me or anybody else in here overlook the pieces to the puzzle. And God has warned us through pastors, through circumstances, through a lot of things, and somehow we still don't get it. The reason why we don't get it is because we didn't follow the instruction the first time. And when we don't, what I've learned through the season that I went through, and just in general, is that it's best to just obey the instruction the first time when you get it than getting the instruction 10 times over and over again. Because as you get it 10 times over and over again, you're just stuck. You don't know where to go, but you're too busy trying to lean on your own understanding. And ABC was talking about this in the cell group a couple of weeks ago, and it's true, is that, it's best to literally catch on to the instruction the first time, because it would have turned out a lot much easier and probably a lot more faster than disobeying the instruction and going back to the same instruction to follow at the 10th time, the 9th time, the 8th time, right? And your life would be progressing a lot more faster if you just obeyed the first time. Like for me, I didn't obey the first time. I did things to try to get out of my season because at first, of course, I didn't know no better. So someone had to teach me. But I didn't like the feeling of being in the season because I felt like I was going to be left out. And I feel like a lot of us don't like our seasons that we're in because we think we're going to be left out. We feel that because somebody else gets to do something that we're so eager to do, they might look better than us. They might do it better than us, or whatever the case may be. And not to lie, this is the typical thinking. The reason why we don't want to be in a season is because we feel like we're going to miss out on something. But the crazy part about it is that we're not really missing out on anything. It's literally the same thing that you see week over week. It's just you're not doing it at the moment. Nothing has changed. It's the same operation every week. But we're too stuck in our ways and don't want to submit because we don't want to lose. And as we start to think in this mindset, we start overthinking. And when you originally could have obeyed the instruction the first time, what happens is you don't like it. So what happens is you start to think these thoughts of like, why me? Why this? Why is God doing this? Why is this happening? Why is this, that, and the third, right? And realistically, God is trying to teach you something. But in your own mind, God is teaching you nothing, so you think. You think God is just putting you in a season because I'm just supposed to be there. No, he's trying to prepare you for your future. And, instead, we want to prepare for the present because we're not too willing to let go of our old ways, but too busy trying to look good for somebody or trying to impress someone. And at the end of the day, the only person that we should be trying to impress or please is God. But instead, we try to please one another, and we start to think that one another is going to look at us differently because of a certain circumstance. But at the end of the day, nobody really cares. Everyone has their own life, their own things that they need to do, they need to take care of, and we're worried about what somebody else thinks when they probably don't even care anyway. So as you start to feel stuck on which way to go, you have one or two choices. It's either to submit or to not. Right? In an escape room, Yes, of course, the point of it is to try to get out of the other side. But what I've thought about is that on the spiritual side, what God is trying to do is He's trying to corner you. He's trying to put you in a room, trying to, help you see the clues, but also help you submit to His authority. And I feel like we forget that God doesn't submit to us. We submit to Him. Right? But the reason why we can't do that is because we can't let go of whatever the case may be. And, I was actually talking to Chris earlier, and he brought up a good point. And, people don't look at, I know sometimes, people say that they're doing their prayer and reading and this, that, and the third. And, all of us may say that. But at the same time, for some of us, now that I think about it, if we were praying and reading, then we wouldn't be going through the same cycle. Because it says in the actual Bible, it says in His Word of what to do in life. The reason why Pastor stresses that enough is because it's the way we're supposed to live. And if we were actually praying and reading, we wouldn't be, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be going through the seasons that we go through, but we should be able to learn and to submit to an authority. We should learn and be able to, just learn to say yes and not neglect whatever is assigned to you. Rather that get rid of this, get rid of that. We shouldn't be trying to fight it. The only reason we try to fight it is because you're insecure about it and you don't want to solve the issue. You don't want to believe your own mistakes. You don't want to believe what you have done because you don't think that it's right. Why is that? It's because we find sin as a much greater thing than we find God. We love it so much to the point to where we forget about the actual reason why we're here. And don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect at all. But what I realize is that, my life is so much greater than what I have lived before. And, why is it that we can't give something up? Our lives are totally different. God has blessed us in so many ways. And somehow we always try to escape what the plan God has for us. As I said before, all of us go through a season where we don't necessarily know what's on the other side. And for me, it was called a wilderness season. And my definition of the wilderness season, you can't see what's on the other side. The reason of that being is because God is trying to bless you. But in order to bless you, He has to correct the things that are in your heart. So that then when you come out of that season, what's on the opposite side, you're able to see with a much clearer view and you're actually ready for it. But we don't want to accomplish the mission because we don't believe that God is actually with us. We say God is with us, but yet we can't submit to authority. We say God is with us, but our life is still stagnant. We say God is with us, but we don't acknowledge what God has given us. We say, I worship God, but on the outside, it doesn't look that way. And I'm not saying nor am I perfect, because I've been in this situation, and still to this day, at some point in life, I'll go through the same situation over and over again. But the thing is, as long as you're trying, is what God sees. He knows we won't be perfect. The only person that's perfect is him. But as long as we're trying, is what he's asking us to do. God watches us through everything that we do throughout our daily lives, throughout our, on a day-to-day basis. And all he is asking us to do is to do the things that he has done for us. The Bible verse says, "You will do as I did and even greater." Why is it that we can't believe that? Why instead it's the other way around? I will do for myself and even greater. How does that make sense? Our lives are way better than way before. And I feel like some of us don't reflect back on where we came from, but we reflect on where we are, but then we're not making progress, is the issue. Why wasn't I making progress? Because I didn't know how to submit to an authority. I didn't know how to accept discipline. Why? Because no one taught me. But as I learned, and as I listened to Pastor, obey, just follow what I say, and your life will turn out good. Why did I believe that? Because I had nothing else to go for. I just took on someone's word by faith. That's what faith is. You do it and not know what the outcome will be. And I took that and I grew from that. And today, my life reflects it. Why is it that me at this age, I'm able to obey instructions, follow what God is asking me to do, and there's people in here that can't do that? I may be younger, I may be older, but at the end of the day, why is it that we can't obey simple instructions? Why is it that we have to feel like we need to fit in? Because in a theoretical sense, God has already brought you in. There's no need to try to fit in with anything. God has blessed us the way that he has blessed each and every one of us. It may not be the same. It may be different for different people. Your life may have turned out different than somebody else, but there's a purpose of why it happened. God doesn't just do things for any random reason. In life, what I have noticed is God does things for the particular person because he has a different particular plan for that individual. That individual particular plan is not for everybody. There is a different thing for everyone, and it may be the same. Who knows, right? We don't know until we go through our seasons, we follow what God asks, and in the end, you will see the brighter side of what God has for you. But we can't be so eager to rush towards it. That's what I wanted to do. I was so eager to want to get back and want to do all these things. But at the end of the day, there was no reason to. My main focus was to focus on God. Learn how to get closer to him. Just watch, learn, and that's what I did. And, Pastor had texted me on Monday, and, he was like, wow, it's been 6 years. Yeah, I know. Time goes by very fast. It doesn't feel like I've been here for 6 years. It might have been feel like I've probably been here longer. I don't know. But 6 years doesn't seem like it was that quick. But what I have learned in the 6 years is that I'm very thankful. I came from nothing. I didn't have much growing up. And all that I'm thankful for is that God was able to save me. Because I don't know where my life would be as of right now if I wasn't here. Not only am I thankful for that, I'm thankful for the season that God has put me through. Because I'm able to learn from it. I'm able to learn to be patient. I'm able to learn how to talk to people. I'm able to learn how to live life without having to struggle. Ever since I've been in the church, I haven't worried about a single thing in my life. I haven't worried about what my next meal is going to be or whatever the case may be. How I'm going to get to church. I used to have to take the bus, take Ubers all the time, and I don't have to worry about that. Don't have to worry about how to put gas in my gas tank. And I feel like a lot of us aren't too much thankful for that. We all have a roof over our heads, and there's some people that don't. There are people out there that struggle, very much so. But yet we're too busy trying to catch up to someone when we already have what we need. We try to escape a season when God has given us the wisdom, the word, our prayers to be able to get through the season without having to try to jump to get there faster than you should. Because if you get there faster than you should, our pastor says, you may not use what the blessing that God has for you the correct way. I went through a lot throughout my whole life that a lot of people don't know all about my life story. I was literally taken out of the mud into his kingdom. And I was able to be reformed from who I was to who I am now. And that's more than anything that I should be thankful for. That's the only thing that I should be thankful for. It doesn't matter about the car, the clothes, the house that I stay in. It doesn't matter. The main thing that should matter is the relationship with God. God provides the food that you eat. God provides the clothes on your back. God provides the household that you stay in. But the main thing that he wants, and the simplest thing that he wants, is you to have a relationship with him. Nor am I saying I'm perfect, because I mess up all the time. As a leader, as a person, whoever you may be, you will mess up. That is a guarantee. There's nobody in here that has never messed up in their life. And if you say you haven't, you're a lie. No one's life in here is no 100% perfect, but in a spiritual sense, it's perfect because God has brought you here. Yes, I may have felt like I was stuck because I couldn't find the other way out. Yes, I may feel like I'm losing such thing. But it took one thought, which was to just submit to the authority. Whether I do know what's going to happen, I don't care because I didn't know. But as you submit, you realize that there's not too much to worry about because your focus is on God. It's not on everybody else. It's not on what God can give you. It's on how do I grow closer to God to be able to not, when the next season comes or when I'm out of this season, not to look too far ahead or to get too big-headed, but to stay stagnant where I am. How to let go and move on, but not stay in the same mindset and still be offended because somebody brought to you what God has asked you to correct, or God directly asked you to correct himself. The reason why we get offended is because we know our issue, we just don't want to solve our issue. And that is the issue. I just needed to gather the right material, the right clues, the right information, and stop thinking of so much about myself, because it's not about me. We can't escape God, but what we can do is escape our old self and become new in him. But one thing we cannot do is escape God, escape the plan that God has for us. And if you do, at the end of the day, we all know how our lives would turn out. So it's either you stick through it or you don't. If you stick through it, your life will get better. If you don't, you'll just go back to the same stuff that you went through 6, 10, 12, 14, 20 years ago. And the reason why we all stay is because we know deep down in our hearts, we see in our lives that our lives have changed. And we see that, but some of us still can't submit. I think we all need to do evaluation on our lives and actually be thankful for the things that God has given us and stop looking at things in our lives as if they're all messed up, because they're not. I know I said this the last sermon, but maybe it needs to be brought up again. Because the reason why we get offended is because we feel that our life is not changing. We can't allow our lives to change if we don't allow God in. And that's the main thing. That is the only way that our lives is going to change. It's not going to change by our own strength, because every time we try to change it on our own strength, we get nowhere. Every time we try to grab onto something that's not in God's will, we don't move in God's will. We move closer and closer to our deceived thinking of that God is going to bless me, God is blessing me, I'm moving forward. But if you really think about it, you've been in the same place since forever. And I think At a certain point, it just gets tiring, and God may get tired and just leave you be. And one thing that you don't want to happen is God to just let you be. Because the second that happens, oh, I don't know what's going to happen, but something will happen. And I know for one, I don't want to be in that boat. Because the second God lets go of his hand from me, I know my life will go downhill. And I know a lot of us in here have experienced it. Even myself. Isaiah 41:10. Don't be afraid, for I am with you. Don't be discouraged, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will hold you up with my victorious hand. Psalms 139:7-12. I can never escape from your spirit. I can never get away from your presence. If I go up to heaven, you are there. If I go down to the grave, you are there. If I ride the wings of the morning, if I dwell by the farthest oceans, even there your hand will guide me, and your strength will support me. I can ask the darkness to hide me and the light to around me to become night. But even in darkness, I cannot hide from you. To you, the night shines as bright as day. Darkness and light are the same to you. You cannot hide from God. You cannot escape him. The darkness does not help at all because he still sees what you're doing. So it's up to us as individuals to make the right choice and know what it takes to move forward in God's direction. And if we don't, well, I guess we'll find out on our own. But yeah, you can't escape God. So it's best to just do what is right and move forward. Amen.